everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago. This week we're looking back at the hot comics from September 17th, 2021. I'm recording this on Friday, March 18th, 2022. I give those dates so that you know when this information is actually most relevant, because the market's always moving and changing as the prices I'm about to give you are going to show you. Also, as always, we're looking back at the CBSI Hot Top 10 and the Comic Tom Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. Each week they put out a list of 10 comics that are hot that week. So I take those two lists, combine them, and look at all the books on both lists. This week we got 16 books to look at between the two lists. We'll say this week was rather unique in that there wasn't as big a movements as we typically get. Everything was a little steadier overall, although still, mostly down. But let's see what we can learn from looking back at these books, why they were hot, what's happened since. So first up, we got Grendel #1 from 1983. This is the first solo title for the Hunter Rose version of Grendel, and this is because Grendel is supposedly getting a Netflix show, is why this hit the list. Cost a 9.6 to go for $800, a 9.4 to go for $400 back then. Now raw copies are going for $1 to $300. Hasn't really been a recent sale of a 9.4. The most recent 9.6 was still sitting about $800. So this has actually been pretty steady, kind of worth it overall over the last period of thing, which is kind of unusual for this kind of option news, for something to stay steady and worth it. But I think this is a character that's got enough of a cult following. This is an old enough book that's part of what's doing it here. Plus, I think it's a little bit of a hard to find book as well. Next, we have Grendel #1 from 1986 instead of 83. This is the first appearance of the Christine Spar version of Grendel. She was the second Grendel. So this one also hit the list because they didn't know for sure which one the show was going to be about. Although I think most people are thinking it's going to be the Hunter Rose. But back then, this book was going for $20. A 9.6 on this one went for $120. Now this is $5 to $20 book for a raw copy. So this one's down, and I'll be back. A little more typical of what you see with option news, and particularly given that this is probably not the version we're going to get, but we will see. Next, we have the Matrix preview from 1999. This is the free preview book they were giving out at theaters that then got recalled, but there's really a bunch of them out there. But this hit the list because we got a trailer for the newest Matrix movie, which has since come and gone from the theaters. Back then it was going for $35. A 9.8 hit $750. Now raw copy will cost you $10 to $35, with 9.8 all the way down to $2 to $400. Call this and I'll be back on the raw side, but if you were talking about, obviously the 9.8s were trapped, just not very many sales of those periods, so it's hard to really justify overall calling this a trap. Next, we're going to move into some covers, and first up we have Iron Man #12, with a Miles cover. It's always weird when Marvel does this, puts different characters on other books anyway, but this Raza variant, a very cool kind of Miles cover, was going for $10 to $30 despite being just a regular variant back then. Now it's a $5 to $20 book. 9.8 will cost you $70 to $100. So this turned into an I'll be back. Still a little buzz around this. Still a cool Miles cover, but it was an open order and not necessarily, just not going for huge money right now. Our next cover is a book that was on the list last week also. This is Batman #112. This was on the list for the second week in a row despite being the same value and just because there was a lot of sales. But this 1 in 25 back then was still only going for $30, which is not even really hot for 1 in 25 typically. But when it doesn't get the double ratio, what do I say? It's going to finish below ratio later. This is now a $10 to $20 book. 9.8 will only cost you $60. So yeah, this one did not hold up. This one did turn into a trap, even at $30 for 1 in 25. Next, we have Red Room #4, the Jim Rugg 1 in 10 Spawn homage. This 1 in 10 jumped all the way up to $40 to $50, so 4 to 5 times ratio. And this was, there was some renewed interest in this. This was, sorry, reading off the wrong line there, but anyway, this one has fallen back also. It's now a $20 to $50 book. There's still occasionally books going for that higher end, but most of them are in the $20 to $30 range. So this one definitely turned into an I'll Be Back. I should say $20 to $40 range. And this one definitely turned into an I'll Be Back. So it definitely has backed up some. Next, we have Venom number 3. This was the book I was talking about with some renewed interest. Got my eyes on the wrong line there for a second. First appearance of Null. Even though we were kind of in a down period following the end of the King in Black stuff and everything else, the book bumped back up a little bit. 9.8s were back up to $400 after dropping all the way down to $3 after the event and everything ended. Now a raw copy still costs you $150 to $250, which is really pretty steep for a raw copy when a 9.8 will only cost you $3 to $4 now. So this one definitely is down, and I'll be back again. No Null news lately. So this book is definitely backed up. Still a lot of love for Null, even at these prices, but just not near where it was during the King in Black and more so in the lead up to the King in Black storylines. Next, we have Iron Fist number 14, first appearance of Sabretooth. This is a big book to be hitting for comic buzz, and this is because Sabretooth was finally getting a new solo title was coming out. It was in the solicitations. That's what caused this book to hit the list. A 9.6 hit 2,500. A 4.0 went for $375. Couldn't find a sale of either one of those grades. A 9.4, though, is sitting around 13 to 15. A raw is sitting around 3 to 600. But overall, looking at other grades and stuff, this has been pretty steady. I mean, long term, this is obviously a straight cash book with a bigger villain like Sabretooth. But over the last 6 months, it's just been very steady, even despite the little bump that we got from him getting the new series that's been coming out. I've heard it's getting rave reviews. I have not been reading it, so you guys will have to let me know if Sabretooth has been good. Next, we got the last kind of comic buzz, and that is West Coast Avengers number 7. The first appearance of Jeff the Land Shark, who's kind of Gwenpool's pet, I guess. This was going for $20 to $40 back then, and it hit the list because Jeff was getting his own digital comic that was coming out on Marvel Unlimited, I guess. And so that's where people were jumping on his first appearance. This one's still going $20 to $50, so it's actually crept up a little bit for the higher end stuff. 9.8 is going $150 to $200, so this has been a steady, worth it kind of book over the last 6 months. People have some interest in Jeff. Kind of a fun character, if nothing else. So, all right, with that's 9 books in, and the rest of the way, it's all MCU rumors and news. Shocking that the list is dominated by MCU-related stuff. First up, we got Ultimate Fantastic Four, number 22. So last week we talked about issue 21, which was the cameo of the Marvel Zombies. This is the first full appearance of the Marvel Zombies, at least that's what they're saying. Back then, raw copies were up to $40 to $70. A 9.8 was up to $1,000 following the release of the What If episode with the zombies in it. This book has also held pretty good. 35 to 80, so the range has kind of expanded a little bit on the raw books. 9.8s are down a little bit, 700 to 800. So overall, though, I would call this steady. I'll be back, given the majority of the sales are the raw side. And there has been rumors. Part of the reason this has probably been pretty steady, there's rumors that we're going to get more animated Marvel Zombies, that they're going to be get their own show potentially on Disney Plus, and then also that there's maybe going to be appearance, given the trailer, there's a hint of them maybe appearing in the Doctor Strange movie too. So that's kept interest on this book. Hasn't went up higher, but it's kept interest here. Next, we have Champions number 22. This is the first appearance of Amadeus Cho as Brawn, as well as Riri in her Ironheart 3.0 armor, which is kind of the look that she's had since then. Basically, this is hitting the list for the same value it did last week at $40 to $50. It's just on last week it was $20 to $30. It's on the opposite list this week at $40 to $50 on rumors that Amadeus Cho was going to be coming to the She-Hulk show potentially. So that's what was causing rumors here. Now it's a $10 to $30 book. So this has definitely turned into a trap from the $40 to $50. I mean, I guess it's not his first appearance. It is his first as Brawn, which is they're probably not going to call him Hulk if they bring him to the MCU. So that makes a little bit of sense. So we'll see. But right now, this book is definitely down and a little more affordable than it was when those rumors were happening. Next, we have Black Knight number 1. This is the first solo series for the Dane Whitman version of Black Knight that Kit Harington was playing in the movie. That movie has now come and gone. This was still previews and trailers. Back then it was a $20 book with a 9.8 going for $375. Now it's a $20 to $50 book with a 9.8 going for $300 to $400. So this one's actually crept up despite the movie not getting rave reviews. This one's actually crept up. All right, we got 4 books left. Next up we have Thor number 134, the first appearance of the High Evolutionary. Again, rumors that this character was going to be in Guardians 3. We'd heard of rumors of this character back to WandaVision and Guardians 2, and this has been rumored a long time to come into the MCU. Caused this book to jump to, raw copies were averaging $575, 9.4 jumped all the way up to $2,800. Now raw copies range from $100 to $1,000 depending on condition for higher grade stuff. Again, no really high copies have sold recently. The highest one recently was an 8.5, 15, which 8.5 is going 15 to 1,800. But overall, just looking across grades and stuff, this one has been pretty steady, kind of like that Sabretooth book. So pretty steady and worth it over the last 6 months. So next we have Young Avengers number 1. This was the dropping of the Hawkeye trailer, caused this book to hit the list. First appearance of Kate Bishop, obviously, as well as some other characters. Back then, raw copies were up to $280. 9.8 went for $1470, which was a really, I didn't say all-time high, but I think it was approaching the all-time high for 9.8. Now, raw copies are $100 to $250. 9.8s are down under $1,000 at $800 to $1,000. The show has come and gone. I think it was well received for the most part, but we're not going to see Kate for a while. So this one definitely turned into a bit of an I'll be back. Pretty typical. Avoid the trailer, avoid the show, wait till afterward. You can do a little better. That is a very clear pattern with MCU stuff. Next, we have Hawkeye number 1 from 2017. This is the first solo Kate Bishop series. This was going for 30 to 40 plus for a raw copy back then. 9.8 up to 380. Now it's a $15 to $35 book for a raw copy. 9.8 way down on a 9.8 to 125 to 150. This one definitely turned into a bit of a trap. I guess I'll be back, borderline I'll be back trap, because most of the sales are on the raw side, which is definitely in the I'll be back range. But this book is definitely backed up. Again, we've moved away from the show and away from the character at the moment. And then last but not least this week, we got Tales of Suspense number 57, the first appearance of Hawkeye himself, Clint Barton, the original Hawkeye. Back then, 9.4 hit $17,000. A 9.2 was going for $9,700, almost $10,000. 3.0 was up to $750. Now, raw copy will cost you $300 to $1,000. A 9.2 is running in that $8,400 range. 3.0s are down $550 to $700. And this is a pattern pretty much across all grades, that this book is backed up a little bit and is down a little bit. So that is our list this week. We had one book go up. Several books were steady, but mostly, again, down. Not quite the massive fallbacks we've had occasionally here lately. But still, overall, the pattern for throughout the winter and here as we're moving into spring continues to be down on these books. So we'll see what keeps going. I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you next time.